And so you think that the people that are inclined to cheat, the people that don't reciprocate, somehow they have less of this oxytocin juice or something, or there's some defect in the way oxytocin either gets produced or utilized in the brain. Would that be fair to say?
That's right. So the studies we've done suggest that these people have a dysregulation on the level of the receptor, as the receptors are not in the right regions.
So the receptors, that's the part of the neuron where the molecule locks on.
Locks on.
Right? So that's the lock that the oxytocin key fits into.
Exactly right. Yeah. And so if these are dysfunctional, then the system ends up misfiring. And over 10 years, we've shown that this oxytocin system essentially instantiates empathy. That's when I release oxytocin, I have this subjective experience of empathy, and that makes me care about somebody else at least a little bit. And that, I think, is a kind of social glue. It keeps the world working, because I don't have to be told, you do this, you do that, you must, you shall. I have a sense, an internal moral compass, if you will, on what the appropriate moral behavior is. So why would we have that in human beings? Because we're such social creatures that the only way we can navigate through this sea of strangers in which we live is to have something in our head that says, roughly, this is the appropriate social behavior, here's the inappropriate social behavior, and so what we call that essentially is moral and immoral behavior, or social and antisocial behavior.
Okay. So oxytocin, this is a molecule that we know gets released during childbirth, and we believe, of course, this has something to do with the attachment a mother has to her infant, right? And that's all we thought oxytocin was doing. But you say that it actually has a much more general function, that it doesn't only have to do with that first relationship, but really with all sorts of human relationships. That it exists to do more than just mother-infant bonding, but all kinds of social bonds. Is that true?
That's right. Okay. So
tell us a little more about the data for that. What's the evidence for that?
Right. So we did these tasks that involve monetary exchanges by computer. So if you trust someone with your money, that money will grow, but the person who controls the money can either keep it all or share some back with you. So it's a tangible way to measure trust in the laboratory, which is you have to make a sacrifice to make another person better off. You're doing that because you're signaling to this person, look, we can both be made better off. There's a non-zero sum, a positive sum, win-win solution here, and I'm hoping that you'll follow through on that solution, but you don't have to. We found that 98% of the people who are trusted like that release oxytocin into proportion to the amount of money they've been entrusted with, and they reciprocate strongly when they get this oxytocin hit. So most people get it. They have an intact oxytocin-mediated empathy system, and this instantiates these moral behaviors which depend on empathy.
Now, you've observed that. Now, can you give people oxytocin? Is that something that you can give, like a drug or something like that?
That's right. So it's a prescription drug. We've developed a nasal spray that actually gets this into the brain. So we can spray oxytocin into your nose, wait an hour, it gets into the brain. So we can show that there's a direct causal effect between oxytocin and a variety of prosocial behaviors: trustworthiness, generosity, fairness, sacrifice. So these seem to depend on this molecule that, as you said, evolved from maternal care for offspring into a general care for strangers around us.
So this is kind of the social glue that becomes the basis for our social capital, for how we develop as a society beyond just the tribe, if you will, in some ways. It's how we learn to trust other people that maybe we don't know at first, right?
I do. So I think it's the basis for civilization.
Yeah.
If we didn't have a trust detector in our head, again, not perfect, but pretty good, we couldn't live around 1,000, 2,000, 12 million people in New York City and get a sense of who we can be around safely and who we can't. So I think it also tells us why we have well-functioning, highly decentralized societies. Democracy is a decentralized organizational system. The global economy is highly decentralized, right? There's no person pulling the strings. In fact, we've tried that model, called the Soviet Union. Didn't work very well, right? You can't dictate every possible transaction. You have to allow people to find that win-win solution. But I'll only do that if I believe that you're trustworthy. I'm not going to risk resources unless I think you're going to reciprocate. Why do we do that? The answer seems to be oxytocin.